I remember the day that Jesus was crucified. That was the day that I lost a leader, a teacher, and my best friend. How could you forget something like that? How could you forget something that would change the course of history forever? We had all gone to the garden to pray for a while, and Jesus asked us to stand watch while he went in a little further to pray alone. But when he returned, we were all sleeping. Yeah, sleeping. I felt so ashamed. Jesus asked us a simple request, and here we all were, sleeping. See, we had all had a large meal just hours before. No, that's no excuse. Oh, if you could have seen the look of disappointment on his face when he came back a second time and again we're sleeping. Then suddenly, voices were coming in our direction, and the next thing I know, there's soldiers standing before us. And do you know who was with them? Judas. None other than Judas. What was he doing? Why was he with all these men that clearly wanted to do Jesus harm? Then he walks over and kisses Jesus on the cheek. After that, the soldiers quickly grabbed him, but I couldn't let them take Jesus. So I did the only thing I could think to do. I cut off one of their ears with my sword. Then Jesus looks at me and tells me to stop. Why, my Lord? I was only trying to protect you. Then he kneels down and heals the soldier's ear. It was at that moment that I lost myself. There was so much chaos. I couldn't figure out what to do. So I ran as they took Jesus away. What a coward. I went to where they had him on trial. What were these people thinking? Do you not remember the healings and the miracles? Did you not remember the words of wisdom that he spoke into your lives? I should have said something. I should have stood out against the accusations. What could I do? And then people began to recognize me and even asking me, do you know Jesus? Jesus who? How could I possibly admit to knowing who he was? You see how they're persecuting him, the Messiah. I was in fear for my very life. So I denied him. Not once, not twice, 3 times. It happened just as Jesus said that it would. Then I just stood and did nothing. I just stood by and watched as they nailed him to the cross. My king, my best friend. This was a man who could command the wind and the sea. And yet he did nothing. He refused to defend himself. It was out of my control, them crucifying him. What could I do? I, who had denied him. Does that mean that I put him in this situation? Well, was it me that put him on that cross? Was it? Was it my sins? Am I guilty?
consider myself to be a good student. I get to class on time. I get all my assignments done. And I even throw in some extra credit when I have the time. I'm on several sports teams, and I head up many of my high school activities. Oh, how could I forget? I'm also actively involved with my church. It'll look great on my college applications. I strive for perfection in everything that I do. And, well, most of the times I do succeed. The times that I don't succeed, you better believe that I will try and try until I get it perfect. Am I a perfect person? No, I'm afraid not. Just recently I made a very small error in judgment. But it was big enough to bother me until right now. Remember I was telling you I was actively involved with my church? Well, one night after service, my pastor came up to me and asked me if I'd like to head up the Bible club in my high school. It sounded like a great idea. I've heard all these great stories about people starting these Bible clubs and everybody getting the Holy Ghost, but wasn't there anyone else who could do it? I mean, really, just think about it. How would it play out if I stood up in the middle of the cafeteria or stood on the 50-yard line and started just telling people about Jesus? They'd all probably look at me like I was crazy. I mean, there are other ways to tell people about Jesus, more subtle ways, but they'd be way too embarrassing. So anyways, I told them that I didn't have enough time. I had way too much going on, which was a lie. Why did I lie? I could have said no and he would have understood. It was really strange. The next day, I saw one of my best friends. She was walking around kind of adamant, kind of like she was in deep thought. I asked her what was on her mind, and she said, Jesus. Huh? Why would she be thinking about Jesus? She never said anything to me about him before, and I surely never said anything. Remember I told you church life, school life separate? Well, anyways, she asked me how much I knew about him and why he died on the cross. I told her I didn't know much, and maybe she should check with someone else. Good grief, why did I just do that? I could have told her everything she needed to know. Maybe I could have invited her to church. But instead I lied. I lied about my God. The one that I serve. The one that I go to church every Sunday and every Thursday for. But it's over now. And I didn't tell her anything. And we kind of moved on. Well, I didn't move on. I'm a good kid. And I made a mistake. Hopefully God will forgive me. I'll just have to try again.